What's going on, tribe? This is Prepare Mentality. I wanted to touch on the Puerto Rico power outage that happened on December 31st. They experienced a mass power outage that left 90% of the island's 1.47 million customers without electricity. The blackout began around 5:30 and was 5:30 a.m. and was caused by a failure of an underground cable at a power plant switchyard. Luma Energy, the private company responsible for electricity transmission and distribution of the island, initiated phased restoration efforts, warning that full restoration could take 24 to 48 hours. And by late Tuesday evening, power had been restored to about 700,000 clients. Roughly half of those were affected. So the outage disrupted essential services, including water access, as pumps used to increase water pressure were impacted. The governor of Puerto Rico and other officials have demanded answers and actions to improve the island's unreliable electrical grid, a long-standing issue which they've had with past hurricanes and financial struggles after those hurricanes. So Puerto Rico's power grid has faced continuous instability due to neglect, underinvestment, compounded by frequent hurricanes. The most significant damage was caused by Hurricane Maria in September 2017, if anybody remembers that one, leading to prolonged blackouts in nearly 3,000 facilities. So efforts are still underway to restore services to two major plants with the Puerto Rican government. They did report that some customers with solar and storage systems maintained power during the 2-day outage. This highlighting the potential benefits of renewable energy resources and enhancing grid resilience. So this just goes to show that this can hit anywhere and everywhere, having a power outage. In this instance, it was because of the electrical company. They were doing some maintenance, and all of a sudden, boom, power out for 2 days, right? So people who didn't have the necessary resources to alternative powers had to struggle it out for 2 days. Of course, we want to go over the basics of preparedness during this instance. Having basic lighting, stocking up on flashlights, LED lanterns, rechargeable batteries, oil lamps, even solar powered or hand cranked lanterns are good alternatives. Of course, the power supply affects water supply. So this is why we keep stored water on hand, at least 7 to 14 days. This includes for cooking, hygiene, pets, right? Extra things, cleaning for your water. Things like filtering water. How are we going to filter water during a power outage? Having something like a life straw or a Berkey water filtration system could help. Just thinking about these impacts, thinking about what preparations do you have right now? If you had a blackout in the instance of Puerto Rico for 2 days, right? It affected everybody in your community, everybody in your neighborhood. What would be the scenario? How would you be affected? Food, cooking. This is why it's important to have non-perishable foods, have alternative cooking methods, right? Power grids affect our communication system. Having battery-powered radios, having backup phones, right? We have to think about all this. Even in hot and cold weather, we have to find ways to stay cool. In hot weather, we have to find ways to stay warm in cold weather. How are you going to do that? Um, Health and medical needs, right? Do you have enough medical supplies for you and your family uh, to last for 2 days if you had a medical emergency? Speaking of medical emergencies, medical services are disrupted and impacted. The way they communicate back and forth, the way they respond to your neighborhood may be affected. Um, so you may want to stock up on prescription medications and keep first aid kits ready. Um, you know, it was brought to my attention that you can buy solar powered mini fridges. If you have medications that you rely on that need to be cooled and refrigerated, look into that. Look into solar powered uh, mini fridges. Uh, that goes into sanitation as well. Keep hygiene products, moist towelettes, hand sanitizer, trash bags. These things add up and these things count when a disaster strikes or when your power goes out. Having cash on hand is important because ATMs, card readers, these things may be out. So keep small bills and coins for emergencies. Important documentation. Who knows if you had to evacuate? Who knows if they, in Puerto Rico's case, there's really nowhere to go to evacuate because the whole island is down, right? Um, but you still want to secure important documents, have it in a waterproof, fireproof case or container, um, and or digitalize backups if possible, just in case, right? In this instance, there's nowhere to go, so that may not be a viable option. But in this instance, somewhere like Puerto Rico, if you're on an island, community is very important because you can't last without community. You can't last without a tribe. Building relationships in your neighborhood to share resources, information, to support each other during emergencies. Now, I know it's very hard to connect with people nowadays because everybody's in their own little world. Everybody's in their own little home and focused on whatever they're doing independently. And it's hard to talk to people. It's hard to talk to neighbors. But get to know your neighbors because you never know when that time will come when you may need each other. At least talk every now and then. See what's going on. Say hi. Happy New Year. Happy holidays, right? Keep it cordial. You don't have to have a long conversation, but just know, hey, I'm here. You're there. Nice to meet you. Let's move forward. Um, but again, this is the importance of having an emergency plan, create a family plan, meeting points, contact information, uh, so you guys can be ready for things like a power outage or any other disaster that may come. Puerto Rico is just one of those scenarios. For 2 days, they didn't have power. They didn't have filtered water, right? How are you going to get through these scenarios? And I'm going to be bringing up things like this when they come in the news because I want us to get thinking. I want us to get these gears going about these types of scenarios and what these people are going through and what they did, how they did it. What would you be doing in that scenario? What would happen with you? Would you have all the resources? Would you have all the medical supplies you need? Would you have necessary food and filtered water, clean water, hygiene products? Would you have enough food for your pets for 2 days? Enough food for your family for 2 days while the power's out? What would you do if it was extreme heat? How would you keep cool? In winter weather, how would you keep warm? Not necessarily in Puerto Rico, but in other places in America. Just some things to think about. But I just wanted to touch on that because it was very interesting that the power went out for 2 days and it was caused by the power company. It wasn't a natural disaster. It was a man-made disaster, and those happen as well. But again, guys, I want you guys to be safe, be healthy, stay blessed. This Prepare mentality.